He uses His Word to confirm things with His believers in the day and age in which we are operating. And He will use His Word to confirm your area of service. So Gideon had an encounter. First of all, I believe we proved he had an encounter of salvation, but we're not going to that anyway. Then there also was the encounter for service. The Lord came by His way and gave him an assignment, something to do. After we're saved, we have something to do. A lot of Christians are convinced today that we're just saved to sit, soak, and sour. And that's not the case. The Lord wants us to be doing something and be busy about something that He has for each and every one of us to do. Everybody can't be a preacher. There's several preachers sitting in here, but everybody's not called to preach. Everybody will not stand up and teach a Sunday school class necessarily. Everybody will not necessarily get up and sing a song in church, or whatever the case may be. But there is an area of service, if you've been saved, that the Lord has for you to do. And what is that? Well, it varies for different people. We don't have time to get into that tonight. But He uses His Word to confirm His service for us today. And Gideon had an encounter with the Lord concerning his service here in Judges chapter number 6, verse number 11. So, we see that he had an encounter with the Lord. Let me go to, let me give you a verse here in I believe it will be Daniel. Let me get that pulled up, and I apologize. I'm having to flip on my iPad to get all that transferred in, but it'll work out just fine. This is a crash course for me as well. But let's move on. After the encounter of salvation and service, then let's look at the protection in the encounter. Go to verse number 12. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him and said unto him, The Lord is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. Now pay attention to verse number 12. Those words about the second or third line down. The Lord is with thee. If you look at that. In Philippians chapter 1, verse number 6. Let me flip over there and read you a verse out of Philippians. Let me give that to you. We're talking about the protection of the Lord. Philippians chapter 1, verse number 6. What did he say? Being confident of this very thing, that He which hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. He said, I am with thee. The Lord gives us something to do. He gives us an assignment. We have the promise of His protection, and that He will go with us, and He will enable us to do that He has commissioned us and assigned us to do. In verse number 12, I am with thee. Paul, if you flip over to the book of Acts, chapter number 27, go over there this afternoon. Acts chapter 27. I love reading the book of Acts and studying the book of Acts. In Acts chapter 27, you'll find Paul in verse number 23. Paul was probably the greatest person to walk the earth outside of the Lord Jesus Christ, probably in my opinion, and done more to further the cause of the gospel for the cause of the gospel. But in Acts chapter 27, verse 23, he gives us an account there of when he was in prison. And but after a long abstinence, not in prison, he's on the boat. He's not in prison. But after a long abstinence, Paul stood forth in the midst of them and said, Sirs, you should have hearkened unto me, and not have loosed from tree, and to have gained this harm and loss. And now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. Verse number 23, listen to this. For there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am, and whom I serve, saying, Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar, and lo, God hath given thee all them that will sail with thee. So the promise of God's protection, even in Paul's case, even in the midst of a terrible storm, the Lord stood by him. You'll find an account that Paul gives where the angel of the Lord stood by him in prison as well, in Timothy as well. So Paul even testifies to the fact of what Gideon is doing here in chapter number 6 of Judges, that the Lord will go with us in and have protection for us. Now go to verse 13. And Gideon said unto him, O my Lord, if the Lord be with us, why then has all this befallen us? And where be all of his miracles, where our fathers told us, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord hath forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites. Well, what happened? The Lord had given Gideon something to do. He'd given him an assignment to do. Promised, he said, I'm going with you, Gideon. And now Gideon begins to look around at what's going on. Now, this is what we do a lot of times. Well, Lord, look over here. Look what's going on over here. And he was in you know the story. The pastor gave you that overview probably last week of how they're in a time of captivity. The Midianites would come in. He's actually where he's at now. If you study Judges chapter 6, he's threshing wheat in hiding, so the Midianites don't come in and take what he's got or what he's trying just to make a meal for himself. And so he said, Lord, if you're going to do this and you're going to go with me and commission me to do this, then what's going on around us? It's a dark day, in other words, that he's saying. And he began to question the ability of God, is really what Gideon is doing here in these verses. In verse number 13, he begins to question, what is God? God, can you really do what you used to do back in those days? He said, I've heard those stories of how you brought us out of the Egyptian captivity. God, are you still the same God right here in Judges chapter 6 that you were back there in Exodus? Well, God's power and God's ability is not diminished in any way, shape, form, or fashion, no matter what day and age we live in. He's just as relevant in 2018 as he was when he delivered the Israelites from the Midianites, or when he delivered the Israelites from the Egyptians. He's still the same God. Let me read you some verses here. Isaiah chapter 63. It said, Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? That this is his glory and his power, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Matthew chapter 9. But that ye may know the Son of Man hath power on earth to forgive sins. Then he said to the sick of the palsy, he said, Arise, take up thy bed, and go into thy house. Matthew chapter 28. He said this, And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and earth. All power. Every bit of power, he said, is given unto me. He said, I'm all powerful. Matthew chapter 28. He said, In heaven and in earth. Psalm 65. By terrible things and righteousness wilt thou answer us, O God of our salvation, who are the confidence of all the ends of the earth, and of them that are far off upon the sea, which by his strength setteth fast the mountains, being girded with power. He said just with his strength, he set the mountains in place. That's pretty powerful. Being girded with power, which stilleth the noise of the seas, the noise of the waves, and the tumult of the people. Luke chapter 8, and they came to him and awoke him, saying, Master, we perish. And you know the story, Luke chapter 28. And they being afraid, wondered, saying one to another, What manner of man is this? For he commanded even the winds and the water, and they obey him. John 17, As thou hast given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to as many as thou hast given him. And we can go on. Romans chapter 1, 1 Chronicles 29, 2 Chronicles 25, Psalm 62:11. God has spoken once, twice have I heard this, that power belongeth unto God. Romans 16:25. Now to him that is a power to establish you according to my gospel and the preaching of Jesus Christ. On and on. Scripture gives us record that we serve an all-powerful and an almighty God. And when he commissions us to do something, we're not serving Buddha, Baal. I didn't receive salvation from Allah this afternoon. I'm talking about the God of heaven. That's who you got up this morning to talk to. That's who we talked to just a minute ago. That's the Word of God that we're reading. We're talking about an all-powerful God. Well, we've got to move on. We're talking about the protection in the encounter. And then verse 14, the purpose of the encounter. Verse number 14, And the Lord looked upon him and said, Go in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites, have not I sent thee. So the purpose, what's the purpose of this encounter? Well, he wanted him to go. He didn't say us to sit, soak, and sour. There's something that we need to be doing. What is that? We need to be going. Amen. I believe we're convinced that we're doing God a favor if we come and just sit on the pew, maybe 3 times a week. The average is about 1 hour once a week, probably average. That's a sad commentary, but that's the truth. But no, that's not what he told him. He didn't say Gideon. He said now, verse number 14, he said, and now you just sit right here under this oak tree. That ain't what he told him. That's where they was at. Is you sit under the oak tree and wait a little while. No, he said, get up and go. He said, in this thy might. Whose might? Not Gideon's might. Go back to verse number 12. He said, the Lord is with thee. Thou mighty man. I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, he's going in the Lord's might. Verse number 14 here. So the purpose. What's the purpose of this encounter? Why has the Lord saved you? Why has the Lord commissioned you to do something? He wants you to go. Who does he want to go? Well, in verse number 14, he said he looked upon him. That was Gideon. And said, go. The Lord looks at you. That you are the who in the go. He wants you to go. And then verse number 12. He said, in verse number 12, he said, you're a mighty man of valor. Now, you think about Gideon. He was just a farmer. Just a farmer. He's out there threshing wheat. They're at the threshing floor, by the wine press, wherever the case is there. They get by the wine press in verse number 11. And he's just a farmer. He's not a valiant man. But the Lord said no. He said, you are a mighty man of valor. The Lord saw something in him that Gideon didn't even see himself. You know what? The Lord saved you, and he sees something in you that you may not even see in yourself. And he wants to use you to do something great. In this particular case, he used Gideon to deliver, as an instrument to deliver those Israelites. Well, he felt inadequate. Well, let me read you something about inadequacy. And see what you think. Body dysmorphic disorder wedges itself between the sufferer's desperation to connect and the fear that they might be rejected while attempting to do so. This serves the purpose of preventing rejection, which one is constantly dismissed oneself and becomes much more difficult to be rejected by another human being. For many highly sensitive body dysmorphic disorder patients, rejection is experienced as the ultimate proof that something must be inherently defective about them. For this to be the case, it is often interpreted as absolute confirmation that they can never be loved. Taking the risk and possibility of rejection might mean experiencing these dire consequences, and the most benefits do not outweigh the consequences. Thus, body dysmorphic disorder exists in the space of the relational ambulance, completely changing the focus from fears of entity to fundamental feelings of inadequacy to excessive attention toward acceptable physical features. What does that mean? I have no idea. I don't have a clue what that means. Something you can do with inadequacy. It's some psychological journal. If you want to study, there is actually a term. If you feel inadequate now, if you feel you're inadequate, this may have been where Gideon was at, but it's body dysmorphic disorder. That is the medical terminology that they use for inadequacy. There's a diagnosable disease. And that's where Gideon was at. He said, Lord, in verse number, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But anyway, we probably need to, he's going to get into why me just here in a minute. But he was inadequate. He failed. He had that disorder there that we read about. But anyway, I just like saying dysmorphic. That's a name. Isn't that fun? Dysmorphic. Say that. Everybody say it. Dysmorphic. Dysmorphic. All right. Doesn't that feel good rolling off the tongue? Dysmorphic. That makes me feel educated, don't it? Dysmorphic. Anyway. But in 1 Corinthians chapter number 1, this is what God's got to say about this inadequacy. 1 Corinthians chapter number 1. You flip over there. We got time. Go to 1 Corinthians chapter number 1. Go to verse number 27. He said, but God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. And base things of the world, and things which are despised, hath God not chosen. Hath God chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring to naught things that are. That no flesh, here's the key, that no flesh should glory in His presence. It's not about us being adequate and being sufficient and being capable necessarily, but it's about us being used as an instrument for His glory and for His honor. Well, the what. We see the who and the purpose, then the what of the purpose. We are to go. How are we to go? It tells us in verse number, go back up to verse number 12. How are we going to go? The Lord is with us. We're going to go in the strength of the Lord. And go to verse number 14. This is what the Lord told him. And the Lord looked upon him and said, Go in this thy might. We talked about that earlier. Whose might are we going to accomplish the things that the Lord has given us to do? It's through His might and through His abilities that He empowers us and He enables us. And verse number 14. Look, it said, Go in this thy might, and thou shalt, He gives us two instructions, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent thee? And the more important thing than Gideon, a lot of times the human mind wants to focus on the success. And I put this in my notes. Gideon had the promise that they were going to be delivered, that they were going to be saved from the Midianites. Okay? Right in verse number 14. But the more important thing is this. Go back to verse number 12. The Lord is with thee. The presence of God is what we need in our lives on a daily basis. If we're going to be successful in man's eyes, Noah wasn't very successful. He built a big old boat only saved 8 people. But he had the presence of the Lord with him on the boat. And that's what made the difference in Noah's life. See, they were saved from destruction. Those other people perished in the flood. But the presence of God, if you look at Exodus chapter 33, verse number 15, Moses said, I'm not moving from this place, Lord, unless you go with me. In Matthew chapter 28, you'll find that he says, Lo, I'm with you always. So we see the what of the purpose, and then there's the why. You heard that old song, Why Me, Lord? Well, that's where Gideon was at. Verse number, let's see, where's he at? Yeah. He said, verse number 15, he said unto him, Why me, Lord? Wherewith, I'm paraphrasing. He said, Oh my Lord, wherewith shall I say with him? Behold, he said, my family's poor in Manasseh, and I'm the least of my father's house. What's he saying? In verse number 14, he said, I ain't got no money, nobody knows who I am. But you know what? You don't have to have no money, and then nobody got to know who you are. When the Lord gets on your side, you got the presence of the Lord going with you. Right. He said, well, Lord, what are we going to do? But I'll tell you this, and we got to go. I'll tell you who wound up knowing his name. If you go to Hebrews chapter 11, you'll read Gideon's name, Hebrews chapter 11. You have a lot of faith. We're reading about Gideon today, in 2018, in the Scriptures. He said, Lord, I'm poor. He said, I ain't got no money. He said, nobody knows who I am. But that didn't matter to the Lord. He said, but why? And he said, why me? And the Lord saw something in him. And we'll pick up next week. We got to go. It's about 5 minutes till. But we'll pick up and wrap this up next week. But hey, the Lord wants to use us. There's a purpose in Him saving us for service. He wants us to go. And we'll pick up next week and wrap this little section up next week.
Just in case it's loud, it should say.
Okay.
It's not easy.
You all right?